Good evening. Are you all excited to be here? Looks like I'm excited to be here. It's a privilege to be here. So let's kick in the child within us so that we get to the feel of the entire event that we are about to witness. It's about change and innovation. So let's do something kiddish, something interesting. So please all stand up. Okay. All you have to do is just pull up your pants. All right? And hustle. And just move as much as possible, as fast as possible. Right? Kicked in some energy? Feeling better? All right. Thanks. Please seat it. How many of us like? Do you like change? Do you like change? The idea of change? Yeah? We all like change, right? We all like a vacation, right? We like something that will take us away from the familiar to something crazy, wild, unfamiliar, uncertain, some suspense, all that, right? So when you talk about innovation, I just reminded of a story. Okay, there were these two hikers. You would have probably heard this story before. The two hikers on the mountains of Canada. All right? They were hiking together. And they saw a grizzly bear. Hungry grizzly bear. So the hiker one, immediately, he took off his backpack, removed his hiking gear, he started putting on his running shoes. The hiker two asked him, "Hey, you know what you're doing?" He said, "I know what I'm doing. You know that this grizzly bear can outrun you, so there's no point you changing to a running shoe." But the hiker one said, I know that, I don't need to outrun the grizzly bear. I just need to outrun you. Pretty much we talk about innovation. Sometimes when it comes to really about innovation, it's about how you can outrun your competition, isn't it? So not just about cool products, new ideas, new technologies, but it's how we can make a difference, how we can be one step ahead of your competition. So it's about adaptability, it's about change, it's about flexibility, it's about agility, isn't it? But to continue with the story, when a hiker two said, okay, he saw the other guy, hiker one putting up the shoes, the hiker two said, go ahead. Go ahead, good luck. Because the hiker two knew that the grizzly bear has a very bad, eyesight. And it usually chases the one that is moving. So he just stood there like a statue. So sometimes it also means that sometimes when you're running away from something, are you running in the right direction? What if you're just getting eaten by a tiger or an alligator? Some other competition, something else out there. And it's also a story that the hiker two understood that. So when you pick up a hiking partner, pick a good one. And number two, you should know about your competition even better. So isn't it like picking a great partner for innovation is a great story for success, to build your own great story for success? You agree with me on that? Not somebody who will leave you halfway. Right. So what's in it for you today? There are three things, mostly about three reasons for massive change. Okay, just to get you the mood of what's going on. Three critical roles for CIOs. Three areas to target for innovation in the organization. And three major components for innovation engine. So before I start, I want you to focus on to the monitor, and all you have to do is just observe and watch. There are going to be two types of basketball players, one wearing white and one wearing black. Your job is to observe the white. You would have probably seen this before, but for those who haven't, first experience, but we'll come to why I'm showing you this video. Watch the basketball players wearing white uniform and see how many passes they're making between them. All right, ready? Observe. So how many passes? Huh? Oh, okay, it's 15. How many people have seen this video before? Please raise your hand. Okay. All right, very less. Okay, how many people saw a gorilla? while watching this video? All right, we have 50% of the people who have watched the gorilla here. So for those who haven't watched the gorilla, there was a gorilla who was just walking in between, beating its chest and moving out. So those who missed, there comes your gorilla. You can see that? Right. What this means is it's about selective perception, selective attention. It's like when you're too busy focusing on something, you miss out something else. When you're so focusing on the count, you're missing out the larger picture. This happens to organizations as well. In organization, it's called institutional blindness or corporate myopia. You're too busy focusing on the quarter to quarter, meeting these goals and everyday tasks and the business that you miss out the gorillas that comes into your domain and take away your business, right? So what are these gorillas in business? What does this gorilla mean to your business? How do you describe a gorilla to your business? What is a gorilla to your industry? What's that? It could be a competition that you never expected, all right? Could have come from a completely different domain or background or a category that you never expected it should spring up. It could be innovation. It could be some internal risk which you've never seen, so you're busy focusing on something. All right, what else it could be? All right, so generally it's talking about a change, right? So the gorillas that we see is the gorilla is change. Gorilla is hard trend. A change is usually a hard trend, something that can change. But there's two types of trend. One is called soft trend. One is called the hard trend. Mostly when you look at a trend, you'll say people talk about cloud, you'll talk about mobility, people talk about virtualization. Sometimes people think, that could be a soft trend. But you know for a fact that it's a hard trend. A hard trend is something that would change your business completely. A soft trend is something that would come and appear, be there for some time, but it doesn't make a huge impact to your business. A hard trend can do that. But it takes a lot of diligence, it takes a lot of capacity to really understand what is a soft trend, what is a hard trend. You remember the Segway scooter? The two-wheeler Segway scooter? All right, they thought that is going to be one thing that will revolutionize the world. They thought these people are going to buy these scooters. It's going to change the world. They thought it's going to be the next big thing. And what happened? They hardly even achieved 10% of their annual goal in 5 years. They thought it's a hard trend, but that innovation failed. So, can you name some of these companies who have missed this gorilla? There are a lot of companies. If you really just look back in the recent time, there are companies who really lost, they really didn't see this gorilla coming. Can you name some of these companies? Nokia. What was the gorilla they missed? The funniest part, Nokia is the first inventor of smartphone. The Nokia communicator. It had apps, you can download them. But then what happened? When the smartphone came, when Apple came out with the iPhone, Nokia said, we will not make a phone that will even remotely look like iPhone. They waited 8 years. Because it's so ashamed to copy. So ashamed to make a phone that would anyway eventually would look like Apple, right? But there was such other company like Samsung, right? They did the disruption of what iPhone was exclusive for some category. They made it affordable and accessible to wide majority of people and made the disruption of smartphone, right? What's the other company, Mr. Gorilla? Kodak. Kodak didn't see the digital technology, the digital one, right? But you also know the fact that the Kodak invented digital technology. So why is that these companies who are the creators of this change, creators of this innovation, having this dilemma, called the innovator's dilemma, whether to go with this technology or not? You think these people are very smart, right? They're the smart people who invent things or innovating things, but at the same time, they're also the people who really don't take up and trust their ideas, don't pursue their innovation. Any other companies to think of? Gorillas, people who missed the gorillas in the recent times. BlackBerry, right. BlackBerry didn't see the WhatsApp coming. What's that? Oh, they lost the gorilla a long time back. All right? Okay, so there are companies like Barnes and Nobles, okay? Bookstore, like Borders. Companies like Walmart, one of the biggest retail giant. Companies even like eBay. They didn't see this guy called Amazon coming in, becoming what is called the everything store. Almost became an everything store. Became a threat not only to a bookstore, but then to a retail chain, but then to other enterprises. Blockbuster Videos, the brick and mortar business. You didn't see Netflix coming. You didn't see Kodak, didn't see Instagram. 14 employees, sold for $1.3 billion to Facebook. Instagram, simple technology. So Nokia, again, smartphone. So these guys, they missed the gorilla. And it's not too strong. You know, you have very less time, and it's not happened like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It just happened just recently. And we can see that everywhere. So what happens when you miss the gorilla? What really happens to an enterprise? What really happens to an organization when you miss the gorilla? They lose, right? So in fact, there's a study. 70% of the Fortune 500 companies listed in 1955 just gone, extinct. 230 of the Fortune 500 companies that existed in 1980 are gone. That's 46%. Those existed in the 2000 list Fortune 500 companies, 30% of them just disappeared. Are already disappearing. The rest are just disappearing. So we're not looking at extinction events like you have this, you know, the asteroid hitting, or you have the global warming, or any of these extinct. We are seeing kind of a change that is happening on an everyday basis. Something that is what is happening right now. So there are gorillas walking around, and sometimes we just don't get to see them because we are too busy solving yesterday's problems, solving today's problems. So we don't see what's coming, what's next, what's deeper. And that's the kind of a visionary leadership we need to develop. And before that, let me ask you this question. What if the change outside your organization is greater than the pace of change within? What will happen? Now you can see there's change outside your organization and there's change within your organization. What if the change outside is faster? Have you ever observed the times that the change is faster outside your organization? Has any of you witnessed that kind of hot trend? The change is much more faster. We're just trying to catch up. We're trying to even discuss, and then something else is changing, right? So we are talking about exponential change, change that is happening in a very drastic scale. And here are 3 reasons why this change exists. Why so much of change, and why is it happening too fast? Number 1 reason, technology has become cheaper and better and faster and smarter and smaller, because it was a prediction made in 1965 by Gordon Moore, co-founder of Intel. It's called the Moore's Law, that the processing power of the semiconductor would continue to get twice as fast every 12 to 24 months. And he was right. He made this prediction in 1965. Isn't it true that you work in the technology field, that this is happening? It's getting faster, it's getting cheaper, it's getting better, it's getting simpler, and it's even becoming smaller. That's a computer. It's smaller than a grain of sand. And it does the Wi-Fi, it can access, it can does almost everything what a computer can. Which is actually leading to a kind of a change, what we are going to see, the Internet of Things, isn't it? Very soon your bottle will talk to your glass, or your shirt will talk to your washing machine. We're going to see technology in a nanoscale, and it's going to revolutionize something. Now, when you look at it like a soft trend, but that's a hard reality of life. Number 2 reason why you see so much of change around the world is, in the past, if you look at like last 100 years or 200 years, if you look at it, the growth was kind of linear and slow, and nothing changed much. But now the growth has become exponential. So there was a linear growth. When you look at agrarian revolution, if you look back in history, you study history, agricultural revolution, then you had industrial revolution, then came, after industrial revolution, there was this electronic revolution, the rise of Japan, the industrial revolution, the rise of Germany and other European countries, then came the information revolution, the chip. And then that led to what is called a conceptual revolution. We are in a conceptual revolution as we speak. The information revolution is over. Now, what is the difference between information revolution and conceptual revolution? Information revolution, we managed information. Conceptual revolution, we create, share information, which is leading to what is called a big bang disruption that is taking at a large scale. Interesting book to read. Conceptual revolution, the way things are changing too fast. And that's why it's so much of exponential growth. You see a company just come up last 5 years ago, billion-dollar business, taking over companies that existed almost 200 years. We see all this exponential growth. It's because that the exponential growth, we are in the time of exponential growth, which also means a company can actually think of exponential growth. It's not like that slow that we used to have in the past. Right. Look at that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Going for an IPO for 20 billion? And you look at what happened to all the manufacturing companies and all that, and today we talk about tech companies. You're talking about apps doing businesses which is much bigger than most of the conglomerates put together. Now, why this is so much of exponential growth? According to the Google research, till 2003, there were only 5 exabytes of information. And 1 exabyte means 1 billion gigabytes. So, till 2003, that's all the information that was digitally available. Scene changed in 2010. In fact, IBM made a prediction that the data will multiply every 11 hours in 2010. And this happened in 2 days. 5 exabytes of information created just in 2 days. In 2013, that much of data was just generated in 10 minutes. So aren't we really talking about exponential growth, exponential development? There's something going on right now, isn't it? It's too big, which you're already aware of it, just to give you the fundamentals right. So that is leading to the revolution of the cloud, the revolution of the big data, and we are seeing all that exponential changes. Now, what does all these things have in common? Okay, you see, you have a Yellow Pages, you have Walkman, you have a phone, you have a pager, the video camera, the torch, the travel agents. What's all this have in common? Right? They are no more relevant. They are all the victims of technology. So that is the third thing why there's so much of change around the world, that is called the phenomenon called digital Darwinism. All the hardware getting trumped by software. Things that has existed physically now just disappearing with something like quantum existence. So change in business models, the taste of preference of consumers changing, business models are changing, the business challenges are changing, and there's so much of change. And you can see that the brick and mortar is getting replaced with click and mortar. Books to e-books, post office to email, record stores to iTunes, travel agents to TripAdvisor and other things like that. So these are fundamentally the 3 things there are many more, in fact. But what I see is that changing the landscape and why it's happening too fast and too big. So that leads to the phenomenon. See, 20 years ago, all these things wouldn't have been in your pocket, but today you can put all that in your pocket. The mobility, the virtualization, remote access, all the things that is happening because of that. So, change is already here, right? You agree with me on that? In fact, this is a Chinese restaurant, a robot serving food. But it's not here. That means change is here, but it's not evenly distributed. It wouldn't have hit us now, but it has hit somewhere else. And it's true that sooner or later, it's going to hit everybody, right? Right. So that's why sometimes the change will take a long time. But when it happens in a very big way. See, in November 9, 2000, The Economist wrote, "Internet banking has failed to live up to its promise. Why has the online revolution faded so fast?" That is before the dot-com burst. And then the Forrester research, 40% of the adults will use the online banking by 2012. Adults using the internet banking rose up to 500% in 7 years. Pretty interesting. That's why Chris Anderson, the author of the book Free, The Long Tail, also former editor of that, he made a beautiful, beautiful observation. He said, and it is interesting when you look at the predictions made during the peak of the boom in the 90s about e-commerce or internet traffic or broadband adoption or internet advertising, they were all right. They were just wrong in time. So there are a lot of predictions, a lot of people talking about so many things. Question to ponder is that are we on the edge of it, or are we just entering that too soon? So who is responsible for monitoring, measuring, predicting, or inventing change? Whose job is it? And whose job is to bridge the future? You know the fact that we are all going to live in the future, right? I'm pretty sure about myself. 2020, 2030, we're all going to be there, right? Question, how many of you are really prepared for that future? How many of you is really prepared? Personally, organizationally, professionally, how much are we prepared to embrace that future? So that's what Charles Darwin said. It is not the most intelligent or the smartest that will survive, the most flexible, the most adaptable to change. So whose job is it? When it comes to information and insight, innovation, and all the eyes that can give, all that, it's the job of CIOs. So 3 things that the CIOs should do in terms of leadership job. This is what the leaders do. Leaders do 3 things. Okay, I've been done an extensive study on leadership. I've written a book called High Performance Leadership, and I've found different types of leadership. There are leaders who are more system-oriented, kind of innovation, visionary people. Then there are leaders who just take action and get the results. They're more of action-oriented people. And I've also seen leaders who are very good with people and did people development. So then I understood that only 3 jobs, that's all you got to do. You got to do the thinking job right, you got to doing job right, and you have to do the people job right. That's it. The scenario is that sometimes we are all focused too much into the doing job, right? You feel that? Too much into the execution part. Maybe not much onto the innovation front, but innovation is more of a doing job because creativity is more of thinking job. So you need to take up the people job seriously. You're leaders, and leaders, what? You cannot manage people, right? You can manage things. You can't even manage children, so how about managing them when they grow up as adults? It's not possible, right? So what do you have to do? You have to develop people. One of the key jobs that you got to do, you got to really think about, you work with people, you're in a leadership position, you got to really work with people. And let me tell you, all these knowledge workers you work with, they don't want to be led. They don't want to be led by you. Who wants to be led? They just want to be inspired. That's it. Smart people don't want to be led. They just want to be inspired. That's it. That's your people job. Inspire people to think better, do better, be better. That's it. You create that conducive conditions so that they can think better, you can bring in more creativity to work, innovate things better, work as a team better, collaborate as an organization better. Just inspire them. That's it. Then develop them. First you got to develop people, and people develop the business. That's the way. We cannot develop the business just like that. We got to develop people first. We cannot look out for growth without development. See, development and growth are 2 different things. You can grow a cemetery. The numbers will grow up, but there's no development taking place there. Development is something internal, something that we do with people. So if you develop people, you can grow the organization. You develop your team members, you can grow the team. So, first job, focus more on the people work. Next, thinking job. You got to think about the future. That's the visionary leadership is about. You got to think what's coming, what's next. See through the mist. I see so much of mist, there's so much of confusion about what's coming, I don't know, but then see through the mist. That's visionary leadership. Think about the goals, what we need to do. Think about the how. Think about the strategies you want to implement. Think about how differently can we do it. Think about the part of the creative element to it. How thinking differently. Think on decision about what to focus on and what not to focus on. What has to be done right now and what has to be done later. Think on technology, what has to be embraced, what not to be embraced. It's a lot of thinking job. So if you have to be a visionary thinker, think about the scenarios of the future. As a visionary thinker, you could present your organization with scenarios. This is scenario 1, if everything is great. Scenario 2, if things go wrong. Scenario 3, if we ignore this completely. And that scenario is something that the leaders, other leaders and the organizational members, they're all looking for that scenarios. And they want that scenarios from you. So what you need to create is create scenarios. And think of the goals. Work out those goals for your team. And think on how you can achieve them better, faster, cheaper, simpler. So innovation is all about that, to make it faster. We took 3 days to do it, doing it 1 day. Wow, that's innovation. Do it faster, that's innovation. Do it cheaper, that's innovation. Do it smarter, that's innovation. Do it simpler, that's innovation. And if you have to really get into that, because what the CEOs they need to do is that they need to give what is called a strategic direction to the organization. That's what we need to do. The thinking job is all about a strategic direction. What's going on? Where to go next? Where are we moving towards? Helping the people, because we get too busy working on something that we forget to work towards something. We need to work towards something. Because quarter to quarter focus and this short-term vision that people have can really give you a danger of missing out the big picture. What we need is a broad vision and a narrow focus. And sometimes the mistake we do is that we have a broad focus and a narrow vision. That's where we get things wrong. So we need to develop broad vision, see the big picture, and have the narrow focus on exactly what are the priorities where we need to put our attention now, where we need to put our focus right now. That's very, very important. And to get this strategic direction, we need to turn the information into insight. Don't you believe that we are living in an overloaded, informed world? We are too overloaded already. You know, in fact, 90% of the information was created last year. But 90% of the knowledge is not created last year. There's too much of noise out there, and the noise to signal ratio is just growing bigger and bigger. It's our job to understand the signal. What we need is not just information. What we need is insight. What works, what doesn't work. What is the future and what's not going to be the future. What is the soft trend, what is the hard trend. At the same time, we need to look at for these gorillas. Gorillas from other industries. Gorillas which may not look like your competition right now, but could become your competition. Could be from a different domain altogether. So you got to look out for these changing agents, what's going on. You also need to, because it's an interesting fact, if you want to know your future, invent it. You got to be the trend maker, the creator of that future. So when you look at an organization, when you look at where we need to put our focus and attention and energy, this is called the innovation targeting matrix. What happens is will help you with an idea of where to really put your attention to what's going on. So you have, in an organization, you have 3 functions to basically take care of it. One is the support thing. The bottom of it, you have the support, basically helps you run the business. So like support function like human resource, IT, finance, admin, they are the ones that makes the organization run smoothly. They're your support functions. So when you look at the support function, what kind of innovation can you have it there? Because in those innovations, you can look at how you can minimize cost and increase your margins, how to do it faster, at the same time not to affect the quality of output, or whether it can be outsourced or not. So you have the support function. What kind of innovation can you apply in your support function? That's one focused area for CIOs to see, because you need the support function to work smooth. Then the next function is your core function of the business. That's why you have the customers for. A core function of your business is the most important thing. Why? Because it's your source of income. So basically, if you look at a manufacturing company, you need to manufacture the product, you need to have a client acquisition, you need to have an order fulfillment, and you need to have a client support. These are core functions of a business. So the support is how you help your organization internally. Core is how you support your customer externally and internally. So what do? We automate. We simplify the process. We look at improving the efficiency. We look at agility, look at speed, look at cost. Our innovation attempts are basically on making it better, faster, cheaper, smoother, simpler, smarter, whichever way we can look at it. But the third thing, that's a differentiation factor. That is what will set you apart from your competition. Because if a competition is doing the same and is giving you the same offer, then you're just like everybody else. So you need to have your competitive value proposition, or the USP as they say it, Something that can make you stand out. That's why we constantly innovate to stand out. Because you will be commoditized if you're just like everybody else. Because you want to stand out as a brand, you need to be different. And that differentiation is usually brought about by innovation. This is another area. Now, this is to take care of your competition. So, you got to see your innovation attempts could be how you can take care of your organization's health, look at customers, and look at your competition. Whether you're going to compete or create. Whether you're going to have a blue ocean strategy or you're going to have a red ocean strategy, it doesn't matter. But whatever may be the strategy, how you want to innovate and differentiate. So, then people will ask about, okay, where's the next innovation coming from? Or, what's the next jugaad, they say? Well, because we are Indians, right? The frugal innovation. Sometimes you have to get it right. Jugaad is actually a very smart way to innovate. Right? Indians did this Mars orbit for 442 crores. The Americans took $1 billion just to do the same. Right? We didn't get much money. ISRO didn't get much funds, but they still made the Mars orbit. You think so? Yeah? If you had too much of an R&D budget, probably we could innovate better. The truth of the matter is, R&D budget and innovation. Higher R&D spending is no longer or better financial performance. This year's 10 most innovative companies outperformed the top 10 spenders on both 5-year revenue and market cap for growth averages. Not about that. It's not about how much money. It's about how little we get and how much we can give, right? Innovation is that you got little, but you give so much. Innovation is not, you give so much and we give so little. That isn't innovation. So if you have to think smart, you have to really do things out there, it's resourcefulness, all right? How we can do more with less. That's leveraging, how we can be resourceful. And for that's what real innovation takes place. That's where we need to think outside the box, that we need to think through the problem and see what's coming next. So, low-cost innovation. Does innovation cost too much? No. There's a company called Red Tomato Pizza in Dubai. They wanted to increase the sale, so they just innovated with whatever little budget they had. They just had $9,000 as a marketing budget. And they thought, let's innovate. Now, what a pizza company, how can they innovate? So they came out with this smart, button that can be put on the fridge button. And you press on that, and they get it.
That's right, people. Pizza. Pizza at the touch of a button.
Nice. What this means is the delivery guy is on call 24/7. You don't have to talk to anybody.
The VIP Fridge Magnet is delivered directly to your door. It's loaded with your pizza preference based on your order history. Set it up once with your Bluetooth using any mobile on any platform, including that old Sony. Then you just push the button and enjoy your favorite pizza. An SMS confirms every order. If you make a mistake, you can cancel it easily. And if your favorite pizza changes, just reset your preference online. It's VIP pizza delivery that's fun and simple.
We're a small pizza place here in Dubai with a really small budget. We needed to increase our sales. And we wanted to make a difference to our loyal customers and maybe even win some new ones. The media buzz from all around the world, I couldn't believe it. It's created great franchise opportunities, approaching us from everywhere and not just Dubai anymore.
See, anybody can innovate, even a pizza company can innovate and do things differently to create greater experience for customers, because ultimately you're innovating for whom? You're innovating for your customers to make better experiences, right? Does it require a lot of money to give a great experience? No. That's where we need to think outside the box. The box, what we are in, we think if we have too much money, we can innovate better. No, the box is, you need to take out the box. It's not about the money, it's about how we can think outside the box, come with smarter solutions. And that's how we can innovate better. And all it takes is just think and work with people. So what is innovation? Let's get to the grassroots of it. Sometimes we think you have an idea and execution is innovation. It's not. the third most ingredient of any successful innovation is market acceptance. If you have idea and execution, it's invention. There's a museum in New York, in Ithaca. It's called the Museum of Failed Products, and you can find hundreds and thousands of so-called innovations are just become useless inventions, including type press. So what is innovation? It's about gaining the market acceptance. You know that Apple iPod is not the first MP3 player, right? A company called Creative in Singapore, they had made the MP3 player. But that was an invention. What made it an innovation is when Apple came out with the campaign, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Sometimes we make a mistake of saying what we do, but we should say what our innovation does. Nobody wants to know what it is. People want to know what it does. 1,000 songs in your pocket. So we make that mistake. Sometimes we talk about technology a lot. Sometimes we forget to understand what it really does, how it adds value to people. So in that strategic direction, I think we got to look at a strategic innovation is about ultimately, does it give value to a customer? Does it fill a need of a customer? Does it help the customer meet a goal? That's it. And while doing that, do we make money at the same time? That's the strategic innovation. So market acceptance is essential. So that's why most of the innovation efforts, Accenture did a study on that, it said most of the innovations fail because it doesn't really meet the needs of a customer. That's it. So you got to look at innovation from that angle. We got to innovate from a customer-centric point of view. Does it really meet the need for a customer? Then we innovate. Is it really necessary? What is that you are looking for? How can we enrich the life of a customer? Or how make the work cooler and smarter and better and faster for the organization? So, what is the innovation mix? The how of innovation. I'm writing a book called How to Think Outside the Box. One of the essentials, I'll give you the formula, the 3 things. Innovation is mixing of ideas. You take one idea, you mix with another idea. That's a new idea, right? You take one idea, mix it. You take a phone and you take an iPod, you mix it, you have an iPhone. Right? They have one of the failed idea. In fact, Apple had a failed product. They had an Apple Newton. It was a PDA. It just came back as iPhone, which could do other things as well. Sometimes you can look back at the failures, what you have, and see if you can reinvent it yourself. Otherwise, your competition would be reinventing it for you. So mix of ideas, whether you borrow ideas. You know, Aravind Eye Clinic in India borrowed the idea of speed, efficiency, cleanliness, everything from McDonald's. They do thousands and thousands of operations a day, and most of them they do it even for free. It's because they follow the McDonald's model, that anybody could make a burger. If you train a gorilla, they can make a burger for you. Automation, make it simplified. So they have some of these expert doctors. They would come and do the most important thing for an eye operation. The rest of it will be done by minors, so they can do more number of operations a day and reduces cost. You can borrow ideas from everywhere. You can take it from the nature, biomimetics. Take an idea from another organization, not copying it, but get inspired by it. Ideas everywhere. And you can always build on other ideas. You can take ideas, you can deduct another idea from your major idea, and you can still have an idea. That's the idea mix. Then the people mix. You mix up people. That's innovation. Right? If you have a NASA and they have 100 rocket engineers, do you think adding one more rocket engineer would give them an innovation? No. You need to add a musician, a poet, a physician, a mathematician, somebody who is not from that field, somebody who is different from that group. That's why diversity matters. Because if everybody is thinking the same, nobody is thinking. It's more disagreement that leads to greater innovation. So diversity matters. Diversity of ideas matters. Difference of opinion matters. A lot of networking matters. In fact, there was a research being done and said more successful people today, especially people in the senior management who are CIOs, CEOs, or VPs, it's their ability to make connection with other people is the key skill for their professional success. Ability to network. How do you do things in your organization? This is what we do. And sharing ideas, how we solve similar problems, how you do it differently and how we can do it. So there are a lot of people mixing people. Then comes the activity mix. You have to do different things. Not the same things and expecting a different result. That's a sign of insanity. So you got to do different things. And that's the activity mix, the experimentation part. So we did mixing it all together, we can innovate. Sometimes what we need to do is talk to each other. Connect better. That's what technology makes it possible for you. Technology is not innovation, need not be. It's an enabler for innovation so that you can communicate better, work as a team better. That's what we need to do. So, and the last thing, instead of working on something, remember, we always work towards something. We are all moving towards the future. It's our job to know what's going on. It's our job to tell the organization and give them the insight of what it means for our organization and take them forward. So I wish you a great success for the rest of the conference. With that, I close my keynote.
Huge round of applause. Thank you so much, Paul Robinson. Absolutely amazing.
I can take questions for a minute, maybe? Yep.
Anybody with a question, raise your hand. I'll send a mic across to you.
I'm also looking at if anybody wants to share any insight from what I spoke just now. What has struck you? Or what's your take-home message would be like? Please.
You talked about disruptive innovation coming in, and like iPhone 6 has come in, and Samsung also wants to outsmart everyone.
Right.
So actually, it is the same product which is being sold in different forms.
Right.
So is it not more of the same rather than being innovative?
No.
It's
You know,
just
Samsung is
presenting
under
different.
deep trouble right now. Not because of iPhone. That's because there are too many cheap Chinese Samsung-alike
Yes.
mobile phones who's having the same Android platform.
It's
But
Micromax and
yeah,
everyone is
but
here.
Samsung is changing the game. They come out with what is called Tizen, Tizen. They're going to build their own apps. They're going to differentiate themselves from the Androids.
Because those
So they're
others,
changing the game. They
because
understood that too soon, yeah.
Because the others have already moved to Android 1.
Exactly.
So maybe
They're changing the game now. They're moving away from Android right now. That's a
Yeah.
game changer even for Samsung. And they have to take that step very soon. Otherwise, Gesture would be like everybody else.
so
Thanks.
that's a problem.
Yeah. Sure. Anybody else? Any take-home ideas, messages, insights? Yeah, please. You get my bribe. You get free CDs. Right.
You talked about innovation means idea, execution, and market acceptance.
Right.
So what should come first? Market acceptance, that means you have to first do the...
All three are
study.
important. We cannot differentiate like that. But market acceptance is the most important thing. Why? Because if you just innovate and nobody's buying it, it's just loss of money, right? It's just
Should
invention.
it be that you start with market search, then you conceive
You
idea?
have to understand, is the innovation really necessary? Is it a need? Is it going to fill a need, or is it going to create a want? Or is it going to solve a problem, or is it going to help people achieve a goal? You got to look at it from that angle. Is it going to be useful? What's the point of just innovating something if it's not useful for people?
Still,
So
like you would have to have something in your mind before you,
definitely.
like ideas may be there,
Right.
unless you have a need for it, or you do a market district,
Right.
it is a requirement or not.
Right.
Otherwise, then you will not pursue that idea.
Sometimes, it's a filling a need, as I said, but sometimes it's more than a need, because sometimes it's like the supply creates the demand. We have the other dimension to it. Sometimes we innovate and we create an audience. We build an audience, we evangelize it, we market it, we become a success of people. Nobody wanted an iPad. Nobody needed one. But they created one, right? And they created a want for it. So that's a part of the innovation. Sometimes, so what is important is that you create something, but at the same time, you should work on creating the market acceptance for it. That's where the marketing comes into place. That's where positioning comes into place. That's where you need to tell what it does instead of telling what it is.
If that is the case, then of course you need a lot of money for that.
Which
That's
one?
what I feel. Suppose you need to create a want.
See,
But
these
you
days we
create-
live in a digital universe. Sometimes we have to rethink the idea. Do we need too much money for it, or we need to have good ideas for it, which can replace a lot of budget to make something. Just, we live in a viral world, isn't it? If something nice, it will always catch on. Right? Yeah.
It's better to be a follower than a leader.
See, sometimes being a leader is always a good, you have the mover's advantage, but sometimes with the leaders, you make the advantage, but it's not having the market acceptance when somebody else make it better,
Right.
right? Because if your product is not perfect and not ready, not to be embraced by everybody, there's something missing there, right? So being a follower is also a good strategy. If you can work on what is missing there, make it better and make it more acceptable. Edison was very smart. He used to go to the patent office and find out what are the patents which was pending and which is unsuccessful. He used to take all those unsuccessful ideas, he used to work on it and make it better and make it more acceptable. He was more as an entrepreneur. He's more smarter as an entrepreneur. So it's not just about how cool you are as an innovator, but how cool you are, how great you are as an entrepreneur to create that market acceptance. That's the difference between Tesla and Edison, right? Yeah.
We'll take one last question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Normally these innovations be there for say a few days or few weeks, and then the regular stuff follows. The departments go back to their original business, and there is no specific focus. We may talk in conferences, then going back there is no specific focus. That is what is happening in most of the organizations.
So most of the organizations make a huge mistake. This is what they make. The mistake that most of their innovation focus is on defending what they have already done in the past. They're trying to focus on those areas of whatever business model they have built, whatever products they have built. They're getting into more, because innovation can be so risky. So they get into what is called the incremental part of the innovation. So when you focus on defending what you have already created in the past and trying to just focus on that instead of pursuing new path, they make a huge mistake. That's why a lot of startups come with more innovative ideas, because they don't have that path. They make a new path. Some organizations, they focus too much on their past glory or how things have been done. So they make a huge mistake of focusing on what they've done in the past. Right, thanks.